Good morning, everyone. This is the Sensational Six, and we are here to talk about the law of circulation. But before we start, I would really like to do a quick opening prayer to get us all right in the right space, the right time. So if you just get comfortable, and if you want to close your eyes, if you don't, that's fine. But just know with me that there is only one energy, one universal power, one universal intelligence that is continuously always operating, always creating, always bringing manifest into form all of our thoughts and our ideas. Everything that surrounds us is this power. Everything within us is this power. And I know that I am eternally connected to this beautiful source, as I am to all of these people that are now present, my Sensational 16. And I know that we are ready to present a beautiful thought, a beautiful message, something that is now current in everyone's life, that is now focused and ready and is full of energy. And we're open at the top, ready to receive everything that is coming from right now. Everything that is presented in this moment, in this hour, is all present for a purpose. It is the divine urge opening up and allowing us to share what we know with everyone else, and allowing everyone else to bring their thoughts and their presence into this Zoom room and bring us all together into one cohesive unit, one beautiful God being expressing individually. And so I am so grateful for everyone that is here, and I'm so grateful for all the people that are now ready to hear and ready to listen and ready to open and expand their minds in a new and definite way. And so I release this to the universal law, knowing that the law of mind is always in effect and always ready, and it is now in the law of mind. And so please join me in saying, and so it is. Okay, today we're going to talk about the law of circulation. And it is a law that affects all of our lives, and everyone is in this circulation, whether we're aware of it or not. And so from this point forward, I'm going to turn this over to William, who's going to give us a brief kind of synopsis of what the law of circulation is. And then we're going to take questions, and we're going to ask questions and just take it where it goes. So William, I'm turning it over to you.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. I cannot turn it over to William yet. I messed up. We're going to tell you, first of all, what the six of us, and y'all got to jump in and tell me this stuff, but with the six, what we found was an aha moment in our life. And I have to say, I've had more than one, but we're going to start with Brad.
Cool. Good morning, all. Just during the prayer, some other really old aha moment came to mind. And I'm not sure if I'd even started practitioner training many years ago. And I was a big brother with big brothers, big sisters for a number of years. And I remember my little brother and I, he was 14 at the time then. And we were just hanging out during the day, and I was taking him home. And I remember the conversation got a little deep, and we pulled over to talk. And the love and grace and wisdom I shared in that moment was so beyond my nerdy straight upbringing, whether it's talking about girls or drugs or whatever. And that was probably the first time I knew there is something bigger than me that is flowing through me.
Thank you, Brad, for sharing that. I think I'll go next. My name is Gail Morton, and I want to thank everyone that's here this morning for joining us. And my most impactful intuitive moment happened more than 40 years ago, and it unfolded around my father's transition. And this is how I experienced it. So it was a beautiful April day, and my parents were both together out on a golf course golfing, and I was at home mowing the lawn when I received a push, a shove, intuitive thump that said, stop the lawnmower, go inside and sit by the phone. And so I did. It was impossible to ignore it. And I did. I went inside and I sat by the phone, and within just a couple of minutes, the phone rang, and a very nervous young man on the other end said, "Your mother asked me to call. She wants you to meet her at the hospital right now, as fast as you can get there." And I knew in that moment that it was my father. And I asked him, "Is it my dad?" And he started to cry. And he said, "I'm not supposed to tell you." And I said, "It's my dad. And he didn't make it, did he?" And he said, "No, he didn't. Your dad has died." And so I jumped in the car and I ran to the hospital. And as soon as I got there, the nurse asked me, "Do you want to see your father?" And my father and I were very, very close. And I said, "Yes, absolutely." And I went into this room where my father was laying. And the first thing that struck me, absolutely hit me like a ton of bricks, is that my dad's not there. Not even partially there. My dad is not there. And I was angry. I was really angry about it. She said I could see my dad, and that essence of who my dad was, his soul essence that I had always connected with, was gone. And I fully realized that. And in just a moment, as my anger was building around that, I had a very clear message that I not only heard, but I felt. And that is, energy is neither created nor destroyed. It only changes form. And as all of us know, that is a law. It's the law of conservation of energy. And what's interesting about it in my case is that my father was an absolutely brilliant scientist. And science was all about our home. And he was speaking to me in a language that I could understand. And from that moment forward, even though I missed my dad tremendously, I miss him still today, I went forward knowing that he was in his exact right place, exactly where he needed to be. And so was I, and all was well. Thank you for letting me share that intuitive moment. And with that, we'll turn it over to Dale.
Good morning, everybody. It's so good to be here with you all. A very profound moment for me happened when I was a teenager. I was not in a very good place or state of mind because I really wasn't very enlightened, and I was kind of struggling within. And a girlfriend invited me to go hiking in the mountains. And I remember as we were hiking and looking at the beauty around us and crossing people on the path, my mind just really opened up to be able to see outside of myself and my sorrows and all of those things that I just was kind of engulfed in, and I could see beyond it, and I was able to see life around me and to see that everything was beautiful. And it gave me this moment of just amazing spiritual enlightenment to be able to realize like the oneness of all life in that beautiful natural setting. And so for me, that was my real breakthrough on stepping onto the spiritual path, because I was able to go beyond myself in that moment and really see that life is always moving and that there's goodness everywhere, and life is just something that continually grows and shows up. And that allowed me to really start my opening up of my heart and my soul to a bigger way of seeing my life and my purpose. So that's my big spiritual experience. That's probably one of my earliest ones. And now I'll pass it on to William.
Oh, thank you so very much for sharing, Dale, and everyone else. I would have to say that my most impactful or aha moment came a little bit later in life. I did have a little instance when I was younger, but it was just a very fleeting moment. But as I recollect, as an adult to me being a child, it really made it start. It was making sense to what happened at this experience. I love gadgets. I love cooking. I love kitchens. I love appliances. I just love that sort of stuff. And so when Elizabeth and I first got together, we had a house, and you know, the dishwashers, and this story is about a demonstration. Those dishwashers that had 2 drawers in it, you know, back when the stainless steel was coming out. Well, anyway, I just love that because I, don't like really doing dishes, but I like the idea of having double drawers. And I just go, man, that's really nice, but it's X amount of dollars, $1,400 for this piece. It's just ridiculous. But every time I went to Lowe's or went somewhere, I would always go right to the appliance and take a look at that and look at the structure and just constantly have it in the forefront of my mind. Well, started going to the center and started taking classes with Joe. And one day I was getting ready to leave to go to a sandblasting job. And down the street, about 3 houses down, there's an appliance sitting on the side of the road on trash day. So I walked over there and said, "What's this all about?" And when you know it, it is one of those dishwashers with the dual drawers. My jaw just dropped. I was so excited. I ran and got my car, backed it up to it, picked it up, put it in the back of it, and quickly brought it into my garage and hid it. And ran into the house and told Elizabeth all about it. Well, I come to find out that it didn't work. But all it needed was a $20 piece of hardware called motherboard. And so for $20, I was able to get this dishwasher that I thought was so exorbitant and beyond my reach of spending, wisely. To spend $1,400 on one piece is just too much. But that was the aha moment that proved that throughout life, that this demonstration, all the demonstrations beforehand, were all part of the same law. And that's about what we're going to be talking about today. And it was from that point that I became where I am today sitting down. So thank you for allowing me to share.
Wow, wonderful, William. So my name is Lori Savage, and I think I'm going to share my very first aha moment. I was about 7, and I was a kind of a contemplative little kid. And I spent a great deal of time on my own outside in nature, wandering. Now, why I was out wandering that young, I lived in a small town. It was fairly safe, and that's what kids did back then. And I remember laying in the grass and just looking at it and being kind of mesmerized by all the blades. And suddenly I had the sense of God is right here. And as I had that thought, I felt my mind, my body, everything just expand out into almost like an infinity. It was like, whoa, what was that? And then I came back and it was like I got that momentary glimpse that it's all God and it's all energy. And my 7-year-old mind really didn't know what to do with that, but it made an impact. It was a big aha that I would revisit and still revisit to this day. So that was my moment of, wow, things are so much bigger and more expansive than what I'm being taught. And after that, I was kind of like, religion became water off a duck's back. It didn't really stick because I was being taught things that I went, no, this can't be right. And that left me open for learning a lot more things down the road because I didn't have to unlearn. So I was grateful to have that moment as such a young child.
Well, my aha moment, it happened when I was older. I was 43 and my sister was 42 at the time. And she had a stroke. And so I went to Tyler, Texas, where I grew up, and that's where she was. And I stayed there with her for 8 days because the stroke had caused some paralyzation, and I was trying to get therapy sessions and all this other stuff set up where she could be taken care of afterwards. And so it was just a crazy, crazy time. And I spent a lot of time at the hospital and just not sleeping really well. And so I had gone to bed one night and it was like, all of a sudden I heard somebody say, Cheryl, Cheryl. And I woke up and there was nobody in the room. It was so real. I was my sister's voice. I heard her calling me. And I'm not kidding you. 1 minute later, they called me from the hospital. I'm sitting there literally there awake, and they called me and they said that my sister had another stroke, and it wasn't going to go, she wasn't going to make it, and it had killed her brainstem. And so, but it was so weird that I knew before that I ever heard anything. And then that night we had agreed to be a organ donor, she was. And so we're waiting for the transplant team to come in. And I fell asleep again, finally, after sitting up there for hours and hours. I just wanted to be near her. I fell asleep again. And when I did, she said, let me go, let me go. She kept saying, let me go. And I woke up again and I was like, what? And I looked at the clock, and it was right when the transplant team had removed, that she had finally been allowed to just die. And it was just so weird, because what it taught me was there's not really any separation between what is going on here and what is going on afterwards, that there's still that eternal connection, that if you just give yourself an opportunity to hear it and listen for it, you will know that this is all completely, everyone that you have ever known, everyone that you will know is already here. It's already right now in this present moment. And for me, that just set me on this path of a journey of, wow, I've got to know more. I've got to know more. And it was the craziest thing, because I couldn't tell people for years because I thought they'd think I was nuts. But now I just know that it was just the eternal, always present energy, always present. Anyway, thank you. And now we'll turn it over to William and let him talk about the law of circulation.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Cheryl. All right, so the law of circulation. The first thing that most people will think about when we talk about this particular subject is money. They automatically think that the circulation has only to do with monetary gains, what I get and how to get it, how to save it, how to keep it. That's not what the law of circulation is about. It may be an aspect, but the money is just the object. It's the thoughts behind that is what the law of circulation is talking about. So it's what your passion is. Finding out what drives you, again, what wakes you up in the morning. That is the beginning of circulation. A wise person once said, I think his name was Dr. Joe, it's better to give than receive. Anyway, a little bit of a joke there. Anyway, that is so true. The law of circulation is about giving and receiving. It's giving your good, it's receiving good. And that circulation is nothing but the expression of spirit, God, the universe, energy, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter what you call it. It just does what it does. Now, all these laws that we're talking about and will be talking about really boil down to just being that. The circulation and the movement of energy for a specific purpose. And so today we're going to focus on the actual circulation of that energy. So it's about that creativity that's within you. Everyone has that creativity, but it is expressed in different ways. Some people express it through art. Some people express it through literature, music, whatever it is. It's that creative process that's within each and every single one of us that drives us to expand ourselves, all through the law of cause and effect. A nice analogy that I like to use is sticking your hand in the fire. Or let's just talk about your stove. If God was the stove, it just does what it does. There's no buffer or thing that stops you from sticking your hand on top of that hot burner and burning yourself. It just does what it does. And that's what all these laws and circulation are talking about. It allows you to circulate whatever's in your consciousness, and sometimes even your subconsciousness, if you're not aware of what it is that's happening. And that's another topic for another day. But let's get back on track with circulation. It truly is just understanding the passion is within you, allowing that passion to be expressed through you, and through that expression of yourself and the interactions with people and situations around you, it closes the loop and creates that law of circulation, which is always there, always in motion, and nonstop. So if any one of my other colleagues have any type of insights or ahas about what I just said, please join in.
I'll start. It reminds me, I went to Bhutan this last year, and we got to go up to a place called Tiger's Nest, which was a brutal hike, straight up almost from 7,000, no, we started at 7,000 feet, and in 2 miles, we went up to almost 10,000 feet. So you can just, I just was ready for a pickaxe and mountain climbing gear. I mean, it was just a really, really tough trail. But when we got up there, we had the great joy of meeting the head monk, the guy that was in charge of Tiger's Nest. And, he never left there. Once he went there, he never ever left there again until he was carried out, But anyway, one of the men on our trip asked him, he said, we were talking, he said, do you have any questions? And of course we had to have a translator. He didn't understand us. But one of the guys said, it's really easy for me to give, but I just have a difficult time receiving. Do you have any insights on this? And the monk, without even pausing, he said, it's your ego. Get out of your way. It was like, wow. I never thought of it that way. But the law of circulation is about allowing yourself to receive as well as to give. Because if you don't, your well runs dry. You're giving, and you're not in the flow of the circulation. Pretty soon you start getting resentful. It's like, I'm always doing all the work and nobody else is, so you've got to stay in the flow and be open to receive when people are ready to give. And it comes in all different styles and ways. But I always thought, I've never forgotten that moment of saying, wow, if I'm not receiving, I need to look at my ego. So that's my thought.
Cheryl, that's a great story, and thank you so much for sharing it. And William, I really appreciate that as you started us out, you talked about how the law of circulation isn't just about money, because you're right, that is the way most people think about it. So for me, the law of circulation means flow. It means motion. It means movement. So have you ever noticed in your life that where there's movement, there's more life? Mm-hmm. And have you ever noticed that where there is stagnation or little movement, there's less life and there's less vitality? So let me use prosperity as an example. So prosperity is a state of consciousness, a state of our affairs, where there is movement, where there's circulation. There's the movement of love, of joy, of ideas, of resources and energy, just to name a few. And yes, resources can mean finances, but it can mean so many other things. So circulation denotes that giving and receiving is involved. Giving always happens first, that giving of love, of joy, of ideas, of resources, again, of energy, just to name a few, and that these things are always moving in circles. They're moving away from us and then back around to us continuously, because the law of circulation starts with giving, but receiving completes the circulation. So both are essential.
Mm-hmm. Something I'd like to also add to that. I know a lot of people who come into our teaching want to make changes to their lives, and the law of circulation gives people the opportunity to be able to see what they're circulating. And if they're not happy with what's coming into their life, what they're receiving, they have the power to change that by examining, what am I circulating into the world? Am I circulating negativity? Am I circulating lack? Am I circulating any kind of discordancy? And it gives us a chance to see that and make changes so that we're circulating love and joy and inclusivity and oneness. Because when we're circulating that into our world, that is what we will be receiving.
That's wonderful. Exactly. It's about being in the flow. Like being in that river and not stuck on the sides in those little eddies, those round and about, going in circles, going nowhere. Allow yourself to be in the flow of spirit, allowing yourself, yes, to give. And that does open you up to be able to receive. And that allows you to stay in that flow of life. You will find opportunities and avenues of new expanding of your own consciousness. Whatever it is you're focusing on, you will find that when you are in the flow of circulation, that opportunities come out of nowhere. And that was part of what my story was, my aha moment today, was being in that flow that unexpectedly things can fall right into place. And it can't be explained by any other means other than the law of circulation, the law of cause and effects. What you put in your mind does manifest to the level of your belief. Lori, I noticed that you were about ready to say something.
I was just thinking of the Ernest Holmes quote about throwing ourselves into the sea, limitless sea of receptivity. That is one of my favorite Ernest Holmes nuggets, right? Because you can almost feel it, right? The idea of just throwing yourself into that limitless sea of receptivity and putting yourself in that mindset and having that open heart, making sure our conduits are flowing freely, that energetically we're not clogged up with things like unforgiveness. It's kind of like our circulatory system. We could get clogged, right? It's the same thing with divine flow. And so, if things aren't flowing, look and see, is there something I'm holding on to that doesn't serve me? Is there some unforgiveness in my life? That's a big one, right? Am I focusing on things that I don't want? There's a little clog. So just flushing the system out, and I think treatment's a wonderful way to do that. It's a wonderful way to move energy and to just get it flowing and to be in that sea of receptivity and open to all possibility. So, I check in with my energy. How's my energy today? How am I experiencing my energy? Am I experiencing it open and excited and enthusiastic? Then I'm probably in the flow of, I'm circulating in that moment. If I'm experiencing myself as less than that, then there's something for me to see. Where's my little clog? Let me treat that right out of there. Treatment's like a rotor. You can just release everything that is unlike what you desire. So that's what I was thinking, the sea of receptivity, having cut free of all apparent moorings. And I think apparent is the key word in that sentence. There is no moorings.
Wow, thank you, Lori. That was an amazing answer. And I loved how you brought in really being also intentional and conscious about what it is that you might believe that you're moored to, so you can make those changes. And everyone that's joined us, we welcome your questions. So please start sending them in to us and we'll address them while we're here. And speaking of that, a really great question to piggyback off of Lori's answer was, how do I consciously use the law of circulation?
I'll jump in there. Hi, this is Brad. When it feels like and looks like I'm desiring more of something or feeling I want more of a particular experience or physicality to manifest, then right in that I'll look, is there flow there? It's always about from me and to me. So in that space, I will most often say, in this space, how can I give more? If I'm looking at more time, then I volunteer. If I'm looking at more money, I look for more places to give that of people or entities that have spiritually nourished me. I mean, literally, that's how I use the law of circulation of when when I'm observing or feeling an apparent kind of lack somewhere, I say the spiritual truth of that is X, and I add more X into that to have the law of circulation do its wonderful, perfect, impersonal work.
I would like to, the one thing that with the law of circulation also is to, when I'm thinking about how do I use it, well, I have to look at the 4 pillars of my life. I think, you know, that my health, my relationships, my finances, and my, I just went blank. What's the other one?
Creative expression.
Thank you. That's the one that I always am missing. So, anyway, but when you look at all of those things, if you're having the law of circulation works in your relationships. How are you giving? Your creativity, what are you creating? And then what are you taking back from it? You know, so you're giving it and now you're taking it back. It's almost like what the Eastern religions call karma. It is actually karma in a sense that what you put out is what you get back. And that's how circulation works. But so if you really want it to work, look at what aspect of your life is weakened, or, you know, because without the 4 pillars, your table will fall down or your building will fall down. So you've got to just keep in mind that if there's a weakness in one area, look at it and what you need, like Brad said, what do I need to give in order to get, you know, to get myself back into this flow of the circulation. Thank you.
And Cheryl, I love that you brought up the 4 pillars because not only does the law of circulation apply to financial abundance, it applies to all 4 basic pillars in our life. So what I tend to think about when I want to be intentional and very conscious about what I'm thinking in the law of circulation, the question I ask myself is, what characteristics do I value as my life, and am I expressing those characteristics? So for an example, in relationships, one of the 4 pillars, what characteristics do I value in relationships? And am I expressing those characteristics? Because again, the law of circulation begins with giving. It's giving and receiving. So am I expressing those characteristics? Am I the love that I desire to experience? Am I the joy? Am I the peace? Am I the smiles? Am I the interaction that I want to experience? So, and that holds true for all 4 pillars. So that's how I tend to approach consciously using the law of circulation.
What I like to do as far as using the law of circulation and any law at all, I like to really simplify and remember who I am. When I remember that I am an expression of all that spirit is and that it's all oneness, I remember that everything is circulating perfectly. And when I'm coming from love, when I'm coming from having that open heart, when I know that I am just right in the center of everything, then things just happen automatically because I've got my consciousness in that place of knowing exactly who I am in this universe, who everybody is, and that life is just a constant flow, like we've been reiterating. Life is a constant flow when I recognize that it is. And then it becomes very natural to just be pulled to what I'm to do, what I'm to open up to, what I'm to give, and to what I receive. And something I wanted to throw out to the team, because I know there might be a lot of people out in our congregation, and I know I see it in people who I counsel and whatnot, that people, and Cheryl, you hit it early on, people have a really hard time receiving. It's a really intense kind of block. So I was curious for the soon-to-be ministers, how do you approach that with people that might cross your path with that resistance to receiving? What do you do? What do you tell people?
I would say there's a belief there, right? If there's a belief that of unworthiness, and that, you know, the universe is based in action reaction. So if we feel unworthy to receive, then that's going to be our experience. And so it's looking at what is that underlying belief And generally speaking, unworthiness is the first thing that pops up, that somewhere there's something in me that doesn't feel worthy of receiving good. And that is a belief that needs to be kicked to the curb. And to get into that divine flow. We are all equally worthy because, like you said, Dale, remembering who we are. We are all the same. We are all one. There is no difference in levels of worthiness. It is simply being in that flow again.
I just have experienced with people like that that come to me that are blocked, that they have gotten into the habit of always being the giver because it keeps them kind of in control of what's going on. In other words, I also see people that think that giving is a way of receiving love, that they think if they just give and give and give and give, that, oh, well, then see, nobody has to give to me because I'm totally self-sufficient. Well, that's not true. So there's the first false belief that you have to be able to receive. Because the other thing is that when you're always the giver, you take the joy away from other people that want to give to you. So you don't get to have the corner on the market of the joy of giving all the time. You've got to be able to allow other people that are near you to give back to you and to experience that same joy and to make that circulation just keep going. So that's what I see. Sometimes it's just this need to always be the giver.
That's good. I'd like to do a tail end on that, Cheryl. These stories about where it's easier for us to give and we have a blockage of receiving, that really is, again, going into the flow of circulation. And our previous question was consciously use of circulation, and that's just it. On that level, you are subconsciously, and you're not aware of what you're actually doing, because again, you've thought this way for so long that it's just now just part of who you are or who you think you are. The idea here is conscious. Be aware of your thoughts. Be aware of where your limitations are, knowing that they are only mental limitations. Each and every one of us has our limitations. I have my own, and I've got to deal with them on my own. Meaning it's an inside job. There's nothing outside of me that I've got to fix for me. I have to fix me. And then from that standpoint, I allow myself to get out of that eddy in the river, and now I'm back in the flow of the stream, and I'm able to express and experience the fullness of what life is here for us. So it is the awareness of your conscious thoughts. Be conscious of what those thoughts are and allow yourself to be in that flow. Allow yourself to be that giver, and you will find that when you do that, there is so much joy in giving that when you do receive, it is just, it's like that chocolate 3-layer cake that you take a bite of. It's so good.
So William, thank you for kind of emphasizing, the conscious, intentional use of the law of circulation. And we actually have a great question that came in while you were saying that piggybacks on that beautifully. And this is the question. So it seems that our unconscious has a lot to do with our ability to be free to use the law of circulation. So Sensational 6, what do you think about the role of our unconscious in using the law of circulation?
It's in control when we're not conscious. So in just this moment, I can make a conscious decision to instruct the law to do what I want. And from that place, doesn't matter how many lifetimes or how many parents I had that installed incorrect buttons or anything else, I can, from that moment, make the difference. So I believe, and I think we're always trying to teach, the more often I can believe that and practice that, meditation, prayer, spiritual reading, then the more of that's in me so that it can be more present in my subconscious mind when I'm not conscious.
I love that, Brad. I'm going to just piggyback on that too. And that's why I love our teaching so much, because we teach people how to basically reprogram their minds by using prayer and affirmations on some other things that we can do. But even though we've got that stuff lodged in our subconscious, we teach to be mindful of those beliefs so that you can change them. And I know everybody on this panel has changed an incredible amount of beliefs by using the tools that we teach, so that we are no longer governed by beliefs that are in our subconscious that are not life affirming. So we're just here, we're testimonies of how great Science of Mind works when you use it and when you are aware of those subconscious beliefs, so that you can change them and live a wonderful life where there's lots of circulation going on in every single area of life.
I love the metaphor of having a glass of like dirty water, and you just keep pouring the clean water in until eventually it gets lighter and lighter, and eventually there's only clean water. And our conscious thoughts are that clean water, that choice being poured in until we fill our subconscious with the things that we want. And, you know, I also love questions. You know me, I'm a big questioner. So if I'm unclear about what's going on in my subconscious mind, that what's creating, because it's subconscious, right? It's below my conscious awareness, I can figure that out pretty easily by looking at what's in my life. My life will always mirror, as we talked about last week, the tendency of my thought. So that is an easy way to figure out what am I really believing here? Because what I believe will show up every time. It's the law is works perfectly. So figuring that out and then pouring that clean water, that clean consciousness over and over and over again, just swimming in that sea of receptivity, focusing my mind on possibility, and it will shift, because the conscious mind is superior to the subconscious mind because we can use it. We are using it all the time. We never are not using it.
And I love that truth that Lori just said, which is she used the word superior. Conscious mind is superior. And what really is impactful for me is knowing that my conscious mind, and to be clear on that, it's not just what I'm thinking about. It is what I am embodying, what I believe myself to be will always demonstrate. It will always demonstrate, because that is what is making an impression, the strongest impression on the law. And so, very simply stated, the conscious mind will always usurp the unconscious mind. So again, be very conscious and intentional about what you are embodying, what you believe about yourself. And if that's not what you're seeing in your life is a really good litmus test of what that unconscious belief is.
I've had people say that, oh, well, you know, how do I stop myself from thinking? Well, you can get into a pattern of habitual thinking where every time you have a moment when your mind's not occupied with something, you go right back to that place that, you know, it's almost like a comfort zone in a sense. When it's not creating comfort, it's just that's where you always are living. You're living in that thought and you're staying there in that thought pattern. And so sometimes, you know, I've heard it, you know, the aversion therapy where you snap your wrist every time you think about it. But it just makes you aware that you do not have to live there. There is no law in the universe that says you must live like this and you must be this and you must think like this. This is all up to you. It, like William said, it's an inside job. It's getting to that place where you can break those patterns. And it's really, you know, it's just like anything that you're going to start try and break an addictive pattern. Well, that's what it is. You've got an addictive pattern to possibly negative thinking. Maybe that's how you were brought up. Everybody was always woe is me, you know, but you don't have to live there. You don't have to be in that pattern constantly throughout your life. You have the choice to change your thinking and change your life. And yes, it sounds very simple, and it is it is a lifelong journey just to get yourself to that place, but it can be done. It can be done.
Well, that's wonderful. I see here that we have another question, which kind of ties into what we're talking about here. The question is, how do I get the law of circulation to hurry up?
Ooh,
That is a great question. Well, the simplest answer is treat and move your feet. The law of circulation works for you by working through you. And what that means is the universe is always there. It's the ethereal. It's all substance. It's all consciousness. It is our interaction with that divine substance that allows form to manifest. Through our conscious thoughts and through our actions, life unfolds perfectly. And we are the directors of our own lives. So to hurry up really isn't about something, an idea outside of you. The hurry up is, what are you doing? What are you doing to manifest? You have those thoughts. Now what? Now what? If you're an artist, get that canvas, get that spray paint, get that piece of stone. If you're a writer, get that piece of paper, get the pen to the paper. Start, do something. And before you know it, things, the universe aligns itself to allow what your thoughts are to manifest in your life. And it's a lot faster than you might think.
Thank you, William. That was a great explanation. And, you know, as long as, I think the first litmus test is, are you open to receive in the hurry up part? If you are open to receive, then the question that I would ask is, if there's a place where you're waiting for something to happen, ask yourself, have you contributed to the circulation cycle? And if there's a place that you're frustrated or things seem to be delayed, ask yourself the same question. This is the very area that you want to make sure to get things moving by sending out, by giving, by sharing, by putting energy into the cycle of circulation. And I think an important thing to recognize about the law of circulation is that circulation itself is magnetic. So you can change your mind and increase your magnetism. You can change your words, what you embody, and increase your magnetism. You can change your attitude and increase your magnetism. So all of these add energy to the cycle. So moving yourself into a higher vibrational state of joy, of love, of appreciation, of praise, of gratitude, are all emotional states that increase the rate of vibration in comparison to some of those slower or lower emotional states. You know, like the frustration you're feeling about the receipt and not hurrying up. So again, keep in mind that circulation is magnetic, and you can change your mind, you can change your beliefs and what you embody and increase your magnetism. And as it relates to this question, as everyone else weighs in, just want to let the audience know that this will be our final question. Believe it or not, our time is nearly up. So Sensational 6, what else do you have to say? Or maybe any ahas that you have gained from our time together today?
I just wanted to add about frustration. Frustration is a wonderful clue that something's out of alignment, that there is a clog. If you are feeling frustration, look where your desire and your actions don't match up, aren't in alignment, because that's likely what is happening. And so that's a really easy fix. So don't see frustration as a negative thing, just see it as a sign that there's something for me to look at, and some adjustment that needs to be made to free yourself from that frustration.
And just to add to that, Lori, too, because we get that a lot in the line of work that we do. People, I want it now, kind of a thing. And for me, I really teach people to not be attached to the time. And like Gail hit, when you can just take a step back and go, in this very moment, how rich my life is. And I love gratitude, how rich my life is right now, and all the flow that is here right now, to relax that tension, that constriction. Because if we're constricting and saying, why isn't this here now? We're blocking the flow. And so it's about opening up our energy to be receptive and just know it is emerging in our lives, and we're already rich and prosperous right now. And it's a really good way to kind of just get your mind from keeping so tight, like this has to happen now, to being, I am knowing that everything is unfolding in its right and perfect way, and all is well at this moment, period.
Any other thoughts from our panelists?
Yeah, I have one last thought. We are right now experiencing a wonderful time, a time of self-awareness through this whole situation. It is, the universe is giving us time. So whatever it is that you're focusing on, that circulation, what it is you want to express or expand in your life, this is such a great opportunity, because now we all have the time to cultivate what is in our heart. And so I encourage you to take this time that we do have and allow yourself to truly think about what the desires are in your heart, because now you truly do have the time to cultivate those. Whatever that passion is for you, I encourage you to, after our little video here, allow yourself to sit for a minute and allow yourself to align yourself with spirit and allow yourself to express and become part of the law of circulation.
And before we
Powerful homework that William just shared with us. I want to express my appreciation. This group is just amazing to partner with. I'm listening to different answers of the same question, and each response, I get a deeper awareness of the whole topic about. So it's just, I'm so appreciative of it. So besides William's homework, folks, of you sitting, excuse me, and relaxing with what this experience has been, then let's put into the law of circulation. If you're still logged on, you're getting a lot out of it. And we haven't even gotten to the awesome closing prayer yet. So I encourage you, whether it's every 10 a.m. at Center for Spiritual Living, Palm Desert, or next Wednesday when this amazing group will be here to present more awesomeness that you have inspired through your right of consciousness, that you've attracted us to say what we say. Share it with people. Create a watch party. Say, hey guys, let's all do this. And then we'll take a moment to sit with it silently. But 30 minutes after it's over, let's all get on another Zoom with friends and chat about what we just heard from the Sensational Six. Homework.
Thank you, Brad, for that homework. And before we have Lori close us out, I wanted to share one final question that just came through. And the question is it possible to connect with a practitioner for questions, for guidance that may be too in-depth to address here in this session? And so I want to say absolutely yes. We have tremendous strength in our practitioners at the center, and they are all eager to be able to support you in any way that you desire. So either contact a practitioner individually or directly if you have someone in mind, or if not, please contact the center. The center would be happy to connect you up with that perfect practitioner for you. So thanks very much for that question. And Lori, would you like to close us out?
I would. Before we close, I just want to say we welcome your comments and feedback as well. So there's always a place on YouTube where you can contact the center. And if you have an idea for an upcoming show that you would like us to, or something you'd like us to address, just let us know. And let us know if you're enjoying this train of thought of looking at spiritual laws, because we're certainly enjoying it. So here's an opportunity to be in that law of circulation. Here's an opportunity to demonstrate what we were just talking about. On your screen, you'll find an offertory button. Donate here to offer a love offering to help offset the cost of doing these programs. The center is full-time. If anything, we're more full-time now. We are coming to you live on every single day at 10 o'clock. So please make an offering. Any amount is gratefully appreciated. And so as we're looking, giving you some time to do that, I'll let you know what's coming up. As I said, we have live shows every day, 7 days a week. Next up, 10 minutes, 10 days a week, William? He's flashing at me. Anyway, this week's coming up tomorrow.
Every day at 10. Every day at 10.
Every day at 10. Yes, every day at 10. Tomorrow at 10 is Concert and Conversation with Dr. Joe, and his guests will be Melanie Taylor and Terry Woolman. These are wonderful. The music is just fantastic, and the conversation, it's just a wonderful divine flow of both music and insight. And the day after, which is Friday, Reverend Charles will be presenting part 2 of this thing called You, Resistance to Resiliency. Ooh, I love that, resiliency. What an awesome thing to cultivate, to be resilient in this world now. It's always useful, but right now, it's just, I think we bumped it up a few notches. And on Saturday, we have our meditation. And on Sunday, guess what? Sunday service. So those are this week's announcements and all that's coming up. And you can just sign on to YouTube Live or the website every day at 10, and you will find something interesting. So I guess that is it. So I invite you all to just take one more collective and connecting breath. Oh, and as I breathe into this love and this connection, collapsing time and space, knowing that regardless of where each one of us is, there is only one. There is only one love, one consciousness, one divine flow that works perfectly through each and every one of us, as each and every one of us. I affirm that today, every nugget that came up is a divine idea that is manifesting and demonstrating at the level of consciousness within each individual person. And I know this for everybody who is here today, and also anybody who sees this program down the road. A year from now, 5 years from now, will live forever on YouTube. How exciting is that? And I'm just so grateful for this partnership with the Sensational Six, for that ebb and flow, for that divine circulation of ideas that came forth today, and for our connection and circulation of love with our community and beyond, with the greater community out into the world. So it is with this gratitude that I call this time good and complete, as we join together in saying, and so it is.
So it is.
Thank you, everyone.